What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and others. So let's dive into it here with Bitcoin on the weekly time frame. In this video, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin going down from the weekly time frame all the way down to the 4-hour time frame. And we're going to talk about the super guppy as well as the pivots and a couple other things as well. So starting off with the weekly time frame, we talked about yesterday having this declining bull volume coming into this week. And you can see that people are starting to price in the fact that they think we might have set our weekly high here last week at 48,310. Now, this candle, although the candle close was very bullish in that there was a short upper wick, signifying that there is mostly buying volume in this time period and not a lot of selling at the top, the volume seems to be overpowering that and signifying, with 2 consecutive weeks of declining bull volume. If we zoom in, we can see we declined over the last 2 weeks. We may have already set our weekly high on the August 9th weekly candle, and we might be coming down. Now, the thing about when we come down is it's very likely that we're going to form a higher low somewhere above the previous low here from July 19th at 29,254. And the reason is because of the magnitude of the move. So we've risen about 65%. So for us to come down and go right below this key low, we would have to draw down a very significant amount. We would have to draw down about 39%. So it's not very likely that that's going to happen. So even if we do come down this week and we start to retrace, we will see most likely a higher low being set somewhere, and then it's a matter of where is that higher low going to be set. So we'll look at that on the daily time frames. I guess right now is a good time for it. So if we look at this from a 3-day perspective, we are rejecting off of the level that I've been talking about for quite some time now. So this is the 3-day resistance zone from back here on March 2nd. So this is a zone I've been talking about for a while because it was clearly significant back here in March as well as in April. So you can see that we had a bull trend right here with a low, high, higher low, and then higher high pattern with 2 candle closes above the key high. And this was the last down candle before that up move. And so this is where people were selling their Bitcoin. So once they see the trend is confirmed bullish here with the close of this 3-day candle, when we retrace back to it here, this is a buying opportunity for the people that sold in this range. So they buy their Bitcoin back and we go to an all-time high. Then we come back into it again and you can see it held as support once again for one more bounce. We narrowly missed testing it here a 3rd time, and then we came into it here for the 3rd time, and we pushed through the zone with and closed 2 candles below that. So once we closed this candlestick on May 16th, the second 3-day candle below it, you can see this one closed slightly below it. That was when this turned into a resistance zone now. And that's just simple support resistance flip zone criteria. If there's a zone that's holding as support, and then you push below it and you close 2 candlesticks on that same time frame that you're looking at that zone on below that, that's when it turns into resistance. And so you can see that on the first test of this zone, we are in fact rejecting off of this. So from a profit potential perspective, one of the ways that you could play this is by going short on the bottommost wick of this level. So that's right here at about $47,000. If we just take our measurement tool and snap it to that, and then we pull it down, you can see that this is already about a 5.4% spot profit potential. And if we consider the leverage profit potential, if we were using even something reasonable like 3x leverage, that would be over 15% profit on this trade. So very good trade so far. If someone were to take that, obviously everything on this channel is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as financial advice, folks. So do your own research and make your own financial decisions. But this is a level that I've been talking about for quite some time. We're seeing the rejection. Now what I think is very likely is we're going to set a higher low somewhere above this low from 37,267. because the magnitude of the move is pretty significant. So we rose about almost 30% from that low. So we'll probably set a higher low somewhere above that. It's just going to be a matter of where that higher low is set. So let's go down to the daily time frame now, folks. Daily time frame. We need to grab our rectangle from over here. So if we're looking at this from a daily perspective, you can see that we're actually getting the beginnings of a bear trend here. So you can see that with the pattern right here. High, low, lower high in comparison to this one, and then now we're getting a lower low. So if we get 2 candle closes below this key low, that's a confirmed bear trend, and that'll likely push price down somewhere in between this low and this low, somewhere in that range. And so the level that we're watching is this blue zone that we talked about once we had our continuation of the bull trend right here with a low, high, higher low, higher high. You see we tested here as support. I talked about this. Here's a potential trade opportunity. It bounces. Now we're coming back into it. Now if we close 2 candlesticks below this level, this will end up turning into a resistance zone for price. And then it's a matter of how many tests is it going to take for us to go through this level if we turn it into resistance and we want to continue the bull trend. We'll have to, reject off of it maybe a couple times before we can push through it and go above again. So from a daily perspective, where are we looking for a bounce? Now, this is the interesting thing. There's not really a support level down here. So if you look at this, this was just, based on my criterion at least, there's the wicks here basically negate anything being a support level on the daily time frame. So you have to go down to lower time frames to see where the potential legitimate support levels are. So if we go to the 12-hour time frame, we can see that one support level that we have is this candle back here, which is basically the level that we had right here, which is we had our bull trend right here, low, high, higher, low, higher, high. We come back into it, but we don't hold it as support. We push right through it and close 2 candlesticks below it. So it actually turned into resistance right there. We come into it here, we get a rejection off of it, and then we go through it and we close above it. So now if we return to this level, this should be support. And this is right down at about 40,300. This would be the level that I would say I'm most confident with in terms of a potential area for price to bounce off of. But if we look at some of these, I'm trying to see if this level has. Okay, so here's another level for potential bounce. This area right here. So you can see price rejected off of this zone, had a little consolidation period, and then continued the trend. So this is going to be the area in question right here. So if we look at the volume, okay, we can see that this is in fact a red volume candle. So what we can do is we can take our rectangle, we can pull it across here on the 6-hour time frame, and we can see that this is going to be our main untested support level, that if we are coming down to levels down all the way down to here at about 41.2, that would be the area that I'm looking for price to bounce off of, at least on the first test. And if we look at this from a 4-hour perspective, we can see that the level that I highlighted yesterday did in fact hold for this rejection. So you can see that right here, this yellow level that I talked about in yesterday's video, this is where we had our bear trend. So we had high, low, lower high, and then lower low. You can see that when we retested this zone right here, it held perfectly as resistance. One of the ways you can play this is go short on the bottom of the wick with your stop loss above the level, and you can see that that would have yielded already about 5.59%. If you were to catch obviously the whole move, obviously you don't always catch the full move, but that is a potential. Obviously there's potential when you see levels like this where there's resistance and you say, okay, this is the first test of this resistance zone. That's when the level is going to be the strongest. So that's when I'm going to try and make an entry, right? So that's what we got here. And you can see the level we're bouncing off of is actually the other level that I had talked about several days ago, which is this 8-hour level back here. So this is the level that when we had our bull trend right here with a low, high, higher, low, higher, high, we came back into it right here. You can see it bounced off of it very significantly for this new local high. And then we're coming back into it now, and we're also getting another rejection off of it here. So what I'll be watching is over the next 11 hours is if we close 2 8-hour candlesticks below this candlestick right here, because then we'll have a confirmed 8-hour bear trend, and this candlestick will end up turning into a resistance zone for price that will likely push price down through this purple support zone. If we keep testing the support zone, it's going to keep getting weaker. And so that's when, I would expect to push down through that level. So that is going to be an area that I am watching, is the 8-hour candles and the close right here. If we look at this from a 12-hour perspective, one thing that is interesting for the bulls is that the 12-hour super guppy. You can see that the investor EMAs, these longer-term EMAs, they held a support right here for already 2 tests, and now we're coming into them for a 3rd test here. So they're more expanded now than they were down here. So that's actually more support now than there was before. But the daily time frame is really what I'm watching with the super guppy indicator, because we still haven't flipped these to be bullish yet. You can see we flipped the faster EMAs to be bullish with the light blue, but we haven't flipped these to be green yet. So I'm going to be watching that over the next coming days to see if we get that flip to be bullish. And if we do, then that is probably going to be the area that I will look to go long on, is somewhere inside of those EMAs, because of the fact that typically when, the first test of this indicator, when the investor EMAs, when you flip to a new trend, is usually a pretty good entry point. You can see right here, very good entry point if you were to, get an entry somewhere inside of those EMAs. That clearly was, like a 30% on spot trade. If we go back to the beginning of this trend, so if you see right here, we didn't test it there, we got close. So right here, so here's the first test of the investor EMAs, and you can see that, from bottom to top, that was about a 23% rise. Obviously, you could have continued to hold and got way more than that, but that's just the initial bounce off of that level. So when you see, the super guppy flip to be bullish from being bearish as well, here's another example of that. So we finally flipped this to be bullish right here. You can see the price comes into those investor EMAs, and we get a bounce of about 24%. So, and that's on spot. So, you consider it depends on where you live geographically, if you can use leverage or not, but obviously, and also how much, if you're an accredited investor or you're, retail investor, different things like that. Obviously, none of this is financial advice, but that's going to be the area that I'm looking to go long on if these end up flipping to be green. So I'll be keeping a close eye on that in 3 hours to see if the next candle close is going to flip those to be green, or if we have to continue waiting throughout this week and see what we get, folks. So that's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. Leave a comment down below about anything that you would like to be covered in a future video. And check out our beginner technical analysis course if you're just getting started in the cryptocurrency economy. This is a great way for you to lay down the foundational elements of understanding that you need to get started trading these crypto assets effectively and with precision. You can get 20% off that course using the link in the description below. And until tomorrow, folks, onward and upward. Let's keep pushing it onward and upward.